Guys, so my emotions are a little crazy today. I came on here to talk about the whole process of how I even got here. A lot of people ask me like, oh, you have 2 kids, then why can't you have any more? Like, why randomly are you all of a sudden dealing with infertility or all this different stuff? And I never knew I had infertility until we got here, actually. To get pregnant with my daughter, it took us like 4 months, which I was like, oh, that's not bad. I mean, they always say that you should never get checked by a doctor until you've hit that year mark or whatever. So 4 months, I was like, oh, that's not bad. And so got pregnant with her. Then after having my daughter, I dealt with postpartum depression for a while. I never saw anybody about it. I kind of just dealt with it myself. I dealt with it by reading the Bible and listening to praise and worship music and just diving deep and finding myself. And then for a while, a lot of people would ask us if we wanted to have a second child, and I was like, I don't know. Because I was just dealing with my own personal problems, you know, trying to deal with all those before I wanted to get pregnant. Because being pregnant, your emotions, they have to be intact, you know. If not, it can mess with you. And so I got pregnant with her after I had her and dealt with all that stuff. Finally, after a little while, we decided to try again. My husband always wanted a little boy, and I always wanted a big family, like a family of 3 or 4 at least, you know. Because I came from a big family, he came from a family of 3, so it wasn't anything like out of the norm. But then I got pregnant, and I had a miscarriage at 12 weeks. That was really hard. I didn't have to have a DNC or anything. It happened on its own, because it was, I was actually in Germany when it happened, and I was using the bathroom, I saw blood, and I just screamed for my husband. And I remember I was crying, and I stayed in bed for like 2 or 3 weeks. We had one of our close friends take us to the hospital there to confirm it. And yeah, and I remember just laying in bed feeling, I don't know, I wanted to blame myself for it. I was like, what's wrong with my body? Why did I have the miscarriage? I didn't do anything wrong. I was not doing anything out of the norm. I was eating healthy. I was doing all the stuff, you know, they said to do, but it just didn't take. And then 6 months later, I got pregnant with my son, and it was a rough pregnancy. Actually, I had different problems towards the end with, like, he tried to come. I went into preterm labor, and then he tried to come towards the end because I ended up getting preeclampsia. But I feel like the reason for that was because I stopped working out because I went into preterm labor, and I didn't want to mess anything up. And then I had him. Everything went well. He had low blood sugar and jaundice, but he came a little early because he had induced me with the preeclampsia. And they induced me, and then I was in the hospital with him for a month. Thankfully, my sister was not allowed, but she got a flight to Germany and was there for like 2 months to watch Kimber. And but it took us a while to get pregnant with him. And then afterwards, as soon as he was born, I was like holding him, and I was like, babe, I want another baby like right now. And he goes, you just had a baby. I was like, I know, but I really want another baby. And so we decided, once I hit that 6-week mark, you know, when you go and get checked up to see if you're good to go and like working out and doing everything again, the doctor said that cleared us and everything was perfect. And then I went home and I was like, I really want another baby. Like the whole 6 weeks, I can't tell, all he heard about was, I want another baby. And I told him, I said, we don't have to right now. I want you to be ready to. And then it took him a couple months, you know, like, it ain't something you just like, I want a baby and you just have one, whatever. Like, it doesn't work like that. I mean, it's something you talk about. And he waited a couple months, and then he decided, you know, since it took a little while for me to get pregnant with our son, that we would go ahead and start trying. So we literally started trying. I had him the end of June, and it was like the end of July is when we started. I don't know if I said a couple months. You need a couple weeks to think about it. But yeah, we talked about it, prayed about it, and then felt like it was time to try. So we started trying, and months would pass, and months would pass, and months would pass, and I stopped getting a cycle, which a cycle is like, you know, a period every month. But we were trying for a year, and I remembered, you know, you can't go and be seen by somebody for any kind of problems you have until you've been trying for a year. And then I was nursing, so I'm like, I'm not gonna go because I was nursing, so nursing probably just messed with it, and that's probably why I was skipping them, because some people say, I mean, I don't believe it, because I've heard a lot of people getting pregnant, but like, nursing is kind of like a birth control. People use it as one, but I never did. I was never on birth control. I tried a bunch of different ones, but they always had really bad side effects on me, so I just never kept birth control in my system. I didn't want it to cause infertility too, but so after a year of trying and nothing happened, I was like, okay, well, technically we need to wait like a year. I said, because I was nursing this whole time, so it doesn't really count why I'm not getting cycles. Maybe it's just because of nursing. And so I weaned him at a year, and then after that we kept trying, and I would not get a cycle at all. I would get like one every, it was like 100 and something days, so maybe 1 or 2 a year. And I was like, okay, I said, I know something's wrong, and you just know because you have your instincts, you know. It's like, I really just need to talk to a doctor, I said, because this is kind of weird. I mean, I know it took a little bit to get pregnant, but why is it taking so long? I've known people getting pregnant while they were nursing, I mean, but I was just trying to throw that off as that's the reason we didn't, but it's almost been a year again. So it was like a year and 11 months after having Remy that I made an appointment with the doctor. And the doctor in Germany made me feel very stupid. I was telling him, I was like, I'm not having a cycle. I said, it's just weird. I said, I know I should be getting one like every month or every other month at least. It's like, I don't know why they're just not coming at all. And he was like, oh, he's like, are you trying or something? And I was like, yeah. I was like, we would like to have more kids, you know. And he said, do you have kids already? He said, looks like you have 2 kids, 3 pregnancies. And I was like, yes. I was like, I had a miscarriage between my 2 kids, but I have 2 kids. And he's like, oh, well, if you can have 2 kids, then you can get pregnant again. And this pretty much made me feel stupid. And I remember going home and crying because I'm like, I know I'm not stupid. I know my body, and I know something's wrong. Like, this isn't normal. I said, I don't care about the whole, at this point, I was like, I don't really care about the pregnancy part. It's just, why am I not getting a normal cycle? Like, I'm young. Everything's normal. Like, what's going on? And so then we got stationed from Germany to Hawaii. And I heard a lot of good news about Hawaii, how they had really good fertility doctors and stuff, and how they're like one of the top in like the world or whatever. And a lot of people will fly here for the fertility doctors here because they're so good. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is just all in God's plan, you know. I'll just go and talk to someone there and see if they say the same thing. You know, if 2 people say it, then I'm just going to assume they're right and I'm just crazy. I went to see my doctor, and she asked me if I had certain signs of PCOS. One of them that was gaining weight like around my waist area just randomly, and it just like one day weighing like 10 pounds more than the other day, and then just fluctuating and not being able to control it. No matter what you do, working out, eating clean, nothing, it's just like the fluctuation. I had that. She asked if I had acne. I had a little bit of acne here and there, but with my skincare and stuff, I don't really have acne anymore. Then there was a couple other things. So she's like, okay. And she's like, so you're not having a cycle, you have this, you know, just a few physical symptoms. And I was like, yes. And then she sent me to run a bunch of tests. She's like, we need to see at least 2 out of the 3, which is a physical symptom, a blood symptom, and something else. It's physical, blood, and something. I can't think of the third one. She said we need at least 2 of the 3 to prove that you have PCOS. I was like, okay. And so I went and got a ton of blood work. It was like 8 vials of blood, a bunch of random things. I had to do an HCG test, which was I would go to this doctor. They would put a tube into your cervix and they would push dye in it. And you would watch it on the screen and the dye would come out the sides of fallopian tubes, and where the ovaries are, you would see the dye come out. If it stopped, that means there was a blockage in your tube, which could be the reasoning of everything. So I was like, okay, so that one made me nervous. I was expecting like that to be the reason, but it wasn't. I went and did the test. It was very painful because they had a doctor who did not know what he was doing, and it kind of hurt. And I have a tilted cervix, so it's harder to get pregnant anyway with a tilted cervix. It's possible, but it's a little bit harder because it's a longer swim, should I say, to get there. So after that, everything was good. I went back to the doctor and they had my results, and I just went to an OBGYN at this time because they wouldn't let you see an REI, which is a reproductive doctor, which is like a fertility doctor, until you had like staple proof that you were infertile. So it's all the same, like in the hospital, like the OBGYN's in the front and the fertility doctor and stuff's in the back. So fast forward to my results. I came in, they're like, okay, so you have the physical symptoms. And I was like, yeah. So like I had like almost like 8 out of 10 of the physical symptoms. Then they're like, your blood test came back and your testosterone is elevated, and that's PCOS. When you have the testosterone, your hormones are imbalanced, and that causes like the random weight gain and the random acne and stuff like that because your hormones are uneven and where they need to be. So I was like, okay, so pretty much I can just get swole right now because of this testosterone, you know, trying to make a joke out of it because I'm one of those people, like, I laugh when I'm nervous and I cry if I don't laugh. So I was trying to make a joke so I wouldn't cry because I was like bummed because the whole time I was like, God, this stinks. I said, because I have to go home and tell my husband, like, it's my fault that I can't give you kids. Like I felt like it was all my fault. And then after that, they also did some test on if I had any form of diabetes, any form of this, any form of that, which can also be another like sign of it. Everything came out good. And also the third thing I remember now is your like fertility, like if you can get pregnant. There's a test they do from your blood where it's like, I'm going to say like a 1 to a 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, of how fertile you are right now at your age. And she said mine was almost like an 11 or 12, but it's just I was not ovulating, so I could not get pregnant. So I'm fertile, everything is good, it's just I'm not ovulating, so I can't get pregnant. And the PCOS is not ovulating. So they wanted to get my husband tested for some things before we got started with the process because they knew what was wrong with me. So, or what I had. I don't want to say what was wrong with me. I try to speak positive of it because there's a reason everything happens. There's a reason I have this. So they tested my husband. They want to check him, see if he had certain things that if we did get pregnant, that they wouldn't clash. So if I had something and he had something, they didn't want them, like if we made a baby, the baby to have something wrong, you know? So they wanted to make sure all the tests came out good and clear, and they both did. And so we started the process. this took like 2 months to even start the process. And so we started in like the end of October, middle end of October, as soon as my husband got back from training. And that went to December, and then we didn't start the actual fertility stuff until January of 2019. So our first cycle, we came in, they taught us how to do everything, and it's pretty much the same thing every single month. So every month from cycles 3 through 7 or 5 through 9, they'll have you take 2.5 milligrams a day is the lowest. Depending on your fertility problems and stuff, they'll start at different dosages and different medicine. They put me on letrozole. I was on there for cycles 5 through 9, and they put me on 2.5 milligrams. The first month, created one egg on each ovary, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, you know, I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh, 2 eggs, I'm gonna have twins. No, I was wrong. It's like a follicle. I keep saying egg, but it's like a follicle, and inside the follicle is eggs. So it doesn't mean every follicle has an egg. There could be 0 eggs in every follicle, but the 2 follicles mean there could be possible eggs in there. So we did our deed. They had us do everything on our own because we wanted to try doing everything we could. I just needed their help to help me ovulate. And the 2 months before that, I forgot to add that they made me take medicine to cause me to have a cycle every month to get my body regulated before we even started this, so I can have like a normal cycle every single month, which was really good. And my hormones, I could tell a big difference and stuff, and just the way I felt. Then the medicine stinks, honestly. I just feel emotional, like almost not bipolar, but almost bipolar sometimes, because I just want to cry or just punch my husband in the face when he says certain things. You know, it just kind of makes me very emotional. And then the first time I took it though, I was almost depressed the first month, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I said, because it's messed with my hormones, but she said everything's just regulating out. My body's not used to having these other hormones, you know, that I've lacked my whole life having. So she's like, here we go, let's just try the second cycle. Second cycle went so much better. I kind of felt like cruddy here and there, but that was just because I was really bloated, because the medicine causes eggs to grow in your ovaries. So you're just really bloated because it like overstimulates the ovaries and stuff. Then I only created 1 egg that cycle, and that didn't take either. Then the third cycle, I created, the second cycle, I created a bunch of small eggs that weren't the right size, so I didn't even take a trigger shot to release those. We just did our deed and waited till my next cycle, and then started month 3. After month 3, I took the medicine. I created 1 egg on the right side. It's like, all it takes is 1. So then I took the trigger, and it didn't take either. So, and then the next month, I got hurt on a hiking trip. So I was down for a month, and I just skipped that cycle. And the next cycle, which is the cycle I'm on now, they wanted to do assisted fertility instead of unassisted. So the only difference is, instead of me taking the, like us doing it on our own, we still do that, but they help one day by, after we trigger, we do everything normal. We come and see if there's eggs. If there's no eggs, you skip this cycle. If there is eggs, then you take a trigger shot, but there can't be too many eggs, because because I'm fertile and there's nothing wrong with him, so if I released 4 eggs, then we don't want those 4 eggs to all stick, you know? So I had 2 eggs this cycle. I took the trigger to release it, and 36 hours after is when we did the sperm wash, and then I bring the washed sample in, and they do, it's pretty much like the dye thing, but not painful. They put a little tube and they push the good ones through, because my cervix is so tilted back that 1 chance I get per year when I do ovulate on my own, you know, like if if I do ovulate every month, it takes too long for stuff to get there that they die before they reach the egg, kind of thing. So they wanted just to help to see if that helps any at all. And now I am 3 or 4 days past the IUI now. I felt kind of nauseous today, but that's okay. I just felt blah, and I'm like, it could still be the hormone. I have been testing out my trigger shot because that is a pregnancy hormone that you push in your body to cause it, you know, the eggs to release. The thing that stinks about it is you get positive pregnancy tests. I literally have one, and I will show you what I mean by that. Let me see. See it? That's not a positive pregnancy test. I mean, it is, but it's not a real pregnancy. All that is the hormone in my body. A lot of people don't do it because it's discouraging to see that. But I like to do it because they tell you to wait 14 days, like on cycle day 14 to test. And then if it's positive, then you're pregnant. If it's not, then your cycle will start soon and they'll start the process all over again. But I like to test out the trigger shot just because for my like reassurance, because I feel like if I ever got a positive on the 14th day that I would not believe it, just because I feel like I would assume it's the trigger and tell myself it's the trigger and not believe it until I saw an ultrasound for myself. But yeah, so it is a little bit discouraging though, because I was texting a friend earlier and I'm like, it sucks. It's like really bad, I said, because what if that's the only positive pregnancy test I ever see the rest of my life, or the ones caused by medicine and not really pregnancy? So that really stinks. Yeah, but that's kind of the process so far. I'm taking a picture of the tests every day. I take one until it's out and then back in my system again, and I'll upload a video about that. Sorry this video is so long, but it just explained everything and how I got started and all of that. So if anybody has any questions, please put them in the comments below and I'll try to answer it. If you have anything you want to see a video on, whether it be our lifestyle, anything, just put in the comments and I'll do a video on that. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thank you guys.